Hey guys, you're listening to the Your Party People podcast. This is Lexi Tran, owner of Ivory and Fern, a Midwest-based photographer.
And this is Katie Murphy, owner of Jane Ray Events, your Midwest wedding planner. We're here to give you couples a guide on how to maneuver one of the best days of their lives and how to keep it from being one of the worst. Welcome to the party.
Woo woo! Hey guys, we're back with episode 8 here. And last time we talked about how to choose your wedding party, who those people are, and what to do after you choose them.
Yes, and this week we are going to give you some very important advice about vendors versus friends and family members who want to be your vendors.
Yeah, but before we get into the nitty-gritty of that, it is National Pet Appreciation Day. And we got a lot of pets up in this place. So we're going to talk a little bit about our pets. Katie, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I don't even like calling them pets. It's a little ridiculous. They're my babies. Bella, who is a yellow lab, and Jetta, who is a black lab, and they're sisters from the same litter.
Cute.
Yes. They are going to be 9 this year. Oh, that's so old. They're young at heart, though. They are my sweet babies. I love them so much. And I am lucky enough to bring them into this studio on some days of the week and greet our clients.
Yeah, there's some spunky girls.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 animals at home. I always lead with Tommy won't stop rescuing animals, so my house just keeps getting smaller and smaller. We started with 2 dogs. Luna, our Pomeranian, she will be 6 in October, and our Carolina dog, Dingo Berkeley, and she is a dingo, no brain. She's just the most ditzy. I love her. And then found out that Tommy is a straight cat person, loves cats. So we rescued this little cat, Arlo, who is a true cat, and then I got stuck with this other cat who I love. His name is Munch, and he is not a cat. You know, in the Disney movie Lilo and Stitch, where they're like, I thought I got a dog, but this is not a dog. Yes. That is how I feel about this cat. It is not a cat. I don't know what he is or where he came from. But we just took him to the vet, and he was 9 pounds, and now he's 15 pounds.
Oh.
So 1, he's a behemoth. And 2, he has 8 toes on each paw. So he has opposable thumbs, you guys. He knows how to open cabinets. Like, he is not a cat. I don't know what he is. That is great. Tommy's cat, man. Those 2, they are just.
I just have to comment on your names too. I love your names, Bella and Jetta. I love them, but they're very basic. Your names are great, especially Munch.
Well, actually, Munch came from Tommy and I love Law and Order SVU, and there's a detective in that show named John Munch, and he's our favorite character. And so we were like, oh, let's name him. We were joking, and I was like, well, we'll call him Finn Tutuola because that's another detective. And Tommy's like, yeah, or we call him Munch. And I said, oh, no. And he goes, wait, I just did something. And I was like, no, we're not. And then we picked him up, and he found us. We didn't have any toys with us the day we picked him up. Tommy gave him a straw, like that was just like in a cup in our cup holder in the car. And now he is a ninja at stealing straws. So like you will bring a cup home and set it down on the table and turn around, and all of a sudden either there will be holes all the way down your straw because he munched on it, or he knows exactly what to do with all 8 toes, and he will whip the straw out of your cup and run away with it. So he's come into his name. It didn't start that way, but
he owns his name.
He embodies his name, unfortunately.
Well, as you can see, we could talk forever about our precious pet babies at home, but let's get into our topic today. Yes. So we all know, weddings, you guys, it's kind of a people-pleasing battle planning processes. You want to make everybody happy, get people involved who want to be. We know Aunt Betty wants to make 500 cupcakes. We know cool cousin wants to bring his GoPro and be your videographer, but no. Okay, but we're going to give you compromises, okay? But there are definitely pros to hiring the professionals. It is one day. As we talked about in our first episode, it's a huge investment as well. And we're here just to keep that in mind and give you pros and cons of all the different vendor areas and how to navigate through those.
Yes, we just don't want anyone to regret decisions, especially sometimes it may seem easier to cut the cost when you're hiring a family or a friend, but sometimes you get what you paid for. And that's just, we're really trying to emphasize that there might be a job that's better suited for that person rather than hiring them to do the big job. So we're going to start off with our first vendor, which would be your venue versus dad's backyard barbecue. And you know what, you guys? Sometimes it's okay to leave the grill at home. You know what? It's all right. Obviously, when it comes to picking a venue, it's okay to do a backyard wedding. They're becoming a trend now with COVID on the rise and things like that. But there's a right way to do it, and there's a less right way to do it.
Right. And picking an actual venue that hosts weddings and events daily, weekly, on every weekend, some pros with that you don't think about right away. Restrooms, tables and chairs that are there, and people to set those up for you. Kitchen for the caterer to come in. Those are the types of things that are like, oh, I need those spaces. And with a backyard or with going somewhere in a field isn't, you have to hire all of those things out. And it does add up. There's this concept that it's much cheaper to go just in the backyard or a tent or something like that. You have to hire all those areas still.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like we said before, there's always a compromise with each of these. So if you feel like maybe now you've decided, okay, maybe I don't want to let my dad run the show. It's all right. I can put the grill away. There's always a rehearsal dinner. There's always a big event that happens literally the night before the wedding that is not to the large scale, but almost half. I would say probably, when that immediate family's flying in or traveling, those people come to your rehearsal dinner most of the time. So that's still an event that they can host. That's maybe a little more of a bite-sized event, if you will. It's not the big scale, the big fish, if you will. It's just a little taste into just enough control, just enough power and fun for them to handle.
Yes. And if you do decide to go the backyard route or rent a tent at your private residence, please hire an event planner. And I'm going to give that plug, but there are just so many moving parts. Thinking of having 4 to 6 large garbage cans for the buffet, for the food, for the drinks to go into afterwards. It's those little things that aren't thought of right away and will cause hiccups and interrupt the flow of the night.
Big hiccups. Like these seem like small things, but then all of a sudden your people are like, wait, there's nowhere to go to the bathroom here? And you're like, oh, no.
Just head inside.
Not. But my house has one bathroom for 400 people. So just hire someone that will think of all those little things that will prevent from big hiccups.
Right. So our next vendor that we're going to talk about is the event planner versus Amy, the super organized personal attendant. Which personal attendants are great, but there is a difference between their duties and, number one, their experience. So the reason to go with an event planner, one of the biggest, is their experience. They have done this, honestly, depending who you go to, hundreds of times. They've seen a lot of things that go wrong, and with that experience, they're able to prevent that from happening next time. And they give you that peace of mind that they are there on your wedding day planning with you, that they're going to take care of the fires that light up and they're going to put them out and you're not even going to know about them.
Right.
Because they've seen it before. And they also have those relationships built with your vendors. Not all the time, but most of the time, being in a certain area, you have worked with that vendor. And that relationship that has been built irons out any kind of wrinkles or kinks as well. Yes. And you work with them all day. And essentially they're coworkers working on the same team project all day. And that's really nice to have that familiar face to work with.
Right. And also, it's good. The personal attendant might seem gung-ho and bushy-tailed, ready to go, ready to do it. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this is a huge event to actually plan. And now all of a sudden they're feeling overwhelmed because they're lacking in the experience. And all of a sudden they've taken on something that might be a little bigger than what they anticipated. And so to just leave that compromise, to just give them just their PA job, their personal attendant job, that is still a huge job to be that person's right hand all day and make sure things are going smoothly. You can work with the planner. You can still do planning things that won't lead to a couple being upset or something going completely the wrong direction.
Right. And I will say one more tip with hiring an event planner is the setup and tear down assistance. Everybody thinks they may be able to set up all their centerpieces, their dessert bar, backdrops to the head table, all of that stuff. You guys, on average, it takes my team 4 people at least 4 or 5 hours to set up. And those are 4 people that are experienced in knowing how to set things up. So if you're doing it for the first time, I would add a couple more hours on top of that. So hiring that out, it's an absolute must.
Entirely. So like we said, there are so many things you can do that will give them the guidance and the time that they need to help you plan, but also not feel overwhelmed where things are going to go awry.
Right. Okay, Lexi, lead us into the next one.
The next one, my personal favorite, photographer versus Uncle Jerry's photo hobby. And we love the hobbyists. I started a hobbyist. Yeah. Everyone starts somewhere. But you know what? Your photos are such a big part of your day. It's not just like the planning. It's not something you want to be like, it'll be fine. It'll buff. We'll figure it out. And then get them back and be like, dude, what happened? Because the photos, you don't see those throughout the day.
Right.
All of a sudden you've asked your uncle now to do these photos or whoever it may be. Maybe they're doing it really cheap and that works for your budget. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that works out that way. But if that's something that's important to you, you have to invest in that because it's what you get out of it. What are you going to do when this person, they don't know a wedding day? They lack in experience as well, that we've said before. So if they're a hobbyist and they shoot sports or lifestyle or things that aren't wedding related, it could really cause for the day to be late even. If they don't know the time and there's not a planner maybe there to keep things on track and rolling, things could really get behind and it could end bad.
Right. I was going to say timing.
Yeah.
It's everything. And I'm speaking from not being a photographer, but it's about capturing those moments and those moments happen in seconds. And you need to be able to know those moments are coming or be there and just have that experience to get that shot.
Absolutely.
Which is so important. And that's what a hired professional photographer does. Now, on the other hand, Uncle Jerry, he may have his feelings hurt. We can have him take pictures at the rehearsal dinner.
Yes.
We can have him at the bridal showers. Mm-hmm. There are other areas. Even if you want to go as far as engagement photos, a lot of your photographers have that included in their package, but it depends on where his level is with photography and how much you want to bring him or her. But we're talking about Uncle Jerry here.
Right. Yes. Hypothetical Uncle Jerry. Yes. And so it's so important that that person also enjoys their time and enjoys the wedding. And sometimes they get excited and they're like, oh, I could do that for you, because they want to give you something. They want to gift you something and make you feel like you're saving money or cutting a corner. And sometimes that's great. But then all of a sudden now they're doing this huge event and now they've realized they have to deliver that and do the work after that. And they're like, whoa,
yes,
what did I sign up for? I did not realize what goes into this, because after wedding, I probably spend 4 to 6 hours post to edit and go through them and fix them and sometimes even Photoshop things and all kinds of stuff. So really, there's a lot of back end and front end work. If they don't have a planner, I'm typically the person that's planning that timeline. And so if you have no experience in that game, it's so hard. It's so hard to know what to do and how to guide a couple through that day.
And similar with that, a lot of work on the front end and back end, just as a videographer,
yes,
who is our next vendor. And it's videographer versus the cool cousin with the GoPro.
That's a good one.
And I would say, Lexi, I'll let you speak on this one too, because you have more experience in that. But why hire a videographer?
Yeah, I feel... And I'm just gonna kind of get on my soapbox here on Tommy's behalf here a little bit, but when we make highlight films, it's to tell a story. It's not just to be like a moving slideshow, if you will. And I feel like a lot of people sometimes get that confused with what a wedding film is. So a lot of times you'll just see like movement, right? And some people saying some things, and all of a sudden now it's a ceremony. And so like when you do it like your cool cousin with a GoPro and they have no function of storytelling or no like experience with that, you're going to get that back and you're going to be like, why am I looking at the ground? Why can I hear babies crying? And why do I not feel moved? Why do I not feel like I'm reliving my day? And the whole point of hiring a videographer is so that they can recreate the day in a story format where it moves you and it makes you feel all the same emotions that you forgot you felt the day of your wedding. And so the same thing when it comes to experience and timing and like mishaps, like videographers, they see everything. Like you have to remember, like they've got a camera rolling and when they look back, they see everything. And so like if you've got a big upset that happens all of a sudden in the day, or like say you had a really important first look and all of a sudden that cousin didn't understand or didn't know because they were busy trying to enjoy themselves at your wedding, and all of a sudden now they're distracted and they forgot, you lose that whole clip. You don't get that back.
Right. A video from your wedding day is the best possible way to relive the day.
Priceless.
Because it includes multiple senses. You can see, you can hear, and that brings back so much more emotion in that. And the cool cousin, he can take his GoPro, go on the dance floor after 9:30, 10, and he can get all the cool light shots of people partying, having fun, and getting all the break dancing moves.
And my big thing too that I like to say is it's fine that you have, I mean, every wedding we've ever been to, there's always 2 to 3 guests that have a camera with them or are hobbyists, and they want to do it without having to like commit to doing it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's always okay. I just always tell the couple to really let those people know, because you know who they are. We all know who they are. We know who those relatives are. To just really let them know, like, hey, I've paid these people to be here. Please just respect their space. Give them as much space as you can. And if you want, come to the rehearsal dinner.
Right.
If you want, come with for our bridal shower or our party, our dinner that we're having. And then the reception, like just really those big important moments, we got it.
Right.
We got it. We know what we're doing. We're paid to be there. We want to be there. We want to be present. And we can't be, as vendors, distracted, because then it distracts from the product we're overall trying to give this couple.
Yes. Preach it, girl. It's so true.
I know. I'm a soapbox.
So true. Now we're going to turn the video actually over to Ashley. She's going to give us some tips and tricks with this or that. And we'll be right back to tell you guys more.
Hey everybody, it's Ashley with This or That, and today we're talking about having your ceremony at a church or having your ceremony at your reception location. And honestly, there are pros and cons to both. So some things to consider if you choose to have your ceremony at a church is that you'll want to compensate for travel time to your reception location within your day of timeline schedule. You'll also want to make sure you inform your guests really well of the difference so that they know where to show up and at what time to show up at both. So if you want to have your ceremony again at that church, make sure you have good information, address information on your invites, and that your guests are aware of that. And that anybody who needs to be at the church for pictures prior to the ceremony knows that information as well. And then if you have your ceremony at your reception location, if it's going to be inside and outside, that's great. Typically, your guests can just flow from one location into the other. If it's both going to be inside, you'll want to make sure that you have the appropriate staff on hand within your venue to do a flip so that your guests can, kind of scooch out of the way, and that those ceremony chairs can then become your reception chairs. So think about that and decide what fits best with you guys.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to continue on with the other areas. Vendors versus friends and family members that want to be your vendors.
Yes.
Giving you advice left and right.
All right, Katie.
Okay. Caterer versus 5 aunts with great recipes.
Yum.
They got the good recipes. That one casserole that we're not sure what's in it, but it's just so good. Yes.
I'm just going to keep eating it.
There are so many reasons why I could tell you to hire a professional caterer. I don't have enough minutes in the day. One of the big reasons is timing. Again, I mean, I'm a planner, so I'm all about the timeline, but it is a whole different ball game cooking for like 20 to 30 people versus cooking for that 100, 200, 300 people.
Yes.
You want everybody to eat within that 20-minute time frame. And in order to do that, it's all about time, the precision of cooking, what you have. That's a huge part of it. And the professional caterers, they know because they do it all the time. It's their experience again.
Yes, absolutely. And here's the thing too. When it comes to like home style recipes and stuff, sometimes you do want a more formal meal. And who doesn't love to do a taste test? I mean, that experience of having a caterer where you get to like go out and try those different foods. Like, yes, we love our aunt's like tater tot hot dish and we love all those things. But this is more of a setting where maybe you want to try something new, or maybe you have something where you want it a little lighter. You want something a little more like just a light chicken, or maybe you love pasta and that's something you want. Like, you don't have to go to your aunt and be like, I want pasta for 300 people and I need you to make that. And her be like, well, I know this really good squash spaghetti. Like, you want it to be experienced, and you want it to be tasteful, and you want it to be like not a huge challenge for them as well. Like, if it's something that they don't make.
Right, that they're used to cooking.
Yeah.
And a big part is the staff there to help serve, to help clear, even if you're not doing a plated meal, to help clear the plates, clear the glasses, all of that. Otherwise, it's not fun to sit there and look at half-eaten plates at the table all night. And that's something a caterer will obviously take care of for you. Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things, I mean, time, but second, your aunts can be a guest at your wedding, which they should be.
Yes.
And to compromise, they can host that bridal shower. Yes. Or they can do something for the rehearsal dinner if it's not 100 people. If it's more around that 30, 40, they can go ahead and help with that. Or they could create the snack bar at your wedding.
Absolutely.
Like, still give them a task because they want to help you and you don't want to hurt their feelings. Yes. But that's a way you can be involved. You can do this part. Go at it.
Yes.
But I want you to be a guest at my wedding, and that's why I'm making this call.
And actually, a funny story about that is Tommy's mom really wanted to have more cultural spread of food in our wedding. But the way our venue worked, the kitchen, if it had meat in it, it had to come directly from their kitchen because of like the state laws and protocols and things like that. And so the compromise was she made egg rolls. She made like vegetarian egg rolls that we just had out during our cocktail hour right before the reception. It was like a little snack. And that helped a lot. And so it took the pressure off of his mom feeling like she needed to make all of these things, to then just being able to just like make one little contribution and that be enough. And everyone loved it. And everyone still talks about her egg rolls today. And our wedding was like almost 2 years ago.
That's a great compromise. Yes. 100%. And the other food at your wedding leads us to our next vendor, Baker versus Aunt Betty.
Aunt Betty.
Who I mentioned earlier. She's like, oh, I make great cupcakes. I want to make all of those for you. I'm going to make a big spread. Okay, does she have months, weeks, however long it takes to make all of those, freeze them? Because it's not like she can, if she just has a normal sized kitchen, that she can crank out 500 cupcakes a day before your wedding.
Yeah, the chances are slim.
Right. And not to get too much into it, because honestly, I don't have the knowledge to, but there are different types of frostings that pair right with that kind of cake so it doesn't melt.
Yes.
All of those logistics and expertise goes with hiring a professional baker.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, which actually a lot of my clients do, if they're just going to have a 1 or 2 tiered cake and they do have an aunt or somebody that is very great at baking, they have them just make that 1 tier. And that's their contribution to them. And then they hire out the rest of the sort of desserts.
The big source stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, too, like I said before about the caterer, taste test. It's so fun. That's part of the wedding experience, is to meet these vendors and be able to taste different things and do different things. And like, I loved, like, shout out to the cake lady, Anne, love her. She did our cake, and it was so fun to just like get to know her and like let her spit her knowledge on like, oh, well, I think if you guys really like this flavor of cake, you're really going to like this combination of this stuff. Like she just knew what we wanted before we even decided. And so that was really cool. And she was actually, instead of doing a traditional like cupcake or dessert table, we actually had like a fall themed dessert table. And Anne was actually able to make like mini pies for us and caramel apples. And it just like came together so easily for her. You know what I mean? And I feel like if we would have had someone like that, like my mom's a go-getter. She's like, I'll do anything you need me to do. If I would have brought that to her, she would have been so overwhelmed. The caramel would have been sticking everywhere. And she'd have been like, Lexi, I can't do this. You're just going to go to Hy-Vee. You're just going to buy it. Like, it just would have ended up so much more stress for her. And ultimately, the whole reason we're telling all of this stuff is we don't want these relatives to all of a sudden realize, holy cow.
Too much.
I took on so much. And I have to deliver that because I've already committed to it. And that's a really hard thing to do. And so it's so important that you trust the process.
Right. And trusting in our next vendor, event and floral designer versus Aunt Kathy's Facebook market skills. We all have an Aunt Kathy, I think. So there are so many reasons again that I could go on with this. Actually, Ashley with This or That had a couple tips that went along with this as well. But putting together floral arrangements. Okay, it is, unless you have somebody that's experienced and has done that in the past and wants to take that on for you, that's great. Understand that. It is much more of a task than you think, placing the flowers where they should be. What is the right mechanical structures that go in that vase in order to hold them right? I mean, there is so much more that goes into it than people realize up front.
Yeah.
And a floral designer knows that.
Well, too, and even if like you tuned into our episode with E, she was spitting out names of flowers that like I've never even heard of. And like when you guys talked about supply and demand with those flowers, like all of a sudden this aunt who loves to do this hobby, all of a sudden you show her your Pinterest board of what you want. And she's like, oh, well, I figured out what flower it is, but I don't know where to get it. Or I don't know if I can't find it anywhere. I don't know what else to do because maybe it's not in season and they're not aware of that.
Right. And I don't normally do this, but I have had a couple clients that come to me and they have purchased a lot of things off of Facebook or collected things. And they're like, please help me. I do not know what to do with all of this. I'm like, well, usually we ask you to have all of our rentals and that's what we set up for you. But sometimes they are so far down the hole, I just want to help them.
Yes.
And I'm not kidding. It is a math equation, setting up that centerpiece. So you have 68 of these. We can pair it with this. And you have 4 of these. You know, it's a big task to take on, to set up all your centerpieces and what that all entails.
And then, like, what do you do with that stuff after?
I was just going to say, it saves you so much time and money going with a professional.
Yeah.
And I know you think you're getting a discount, getting some of those things, and maybe you are, but what is your time worth?
Yep.
What is your time worth putting those things together and setting them up? And a good compromise, again, is the rehearsal dinner.
Yep.
Having Aunt Kathy host that, have her host the bridal shower. That's a great thing. She can come up with all her cool centerpieces in there. And she has a part in the wedding for you.
Absolutely. And she'll enjoy that. And like I said, bite-sized events for them. Like, it's great to be in a big scale event and be like, whoa, I'm doing this huge thing. It's going to be great. But like, if you're not seasoned to do that and you're not trained to do that, you're going to get there and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to explode. Versus being able to do something smaller that you don't have to fight other vendors all day, like to get stuff. Like, you're not going to be like trying to get in front of me with a photo. Like, you are going to be that person for this smaller event. And that's like what's important, is that you have that time to do that.
Right. And also at Jane Ray events in the planning process, we have design meetings, and bring them along. Have them come with, so then they're still involved in the designing of your wedding, depending how much they want to be and how much you want them to be. Their opinions in the mix, but that's always an option as well.
Right. And then with that, I mean, we're moving on to our next one, which is your vendor, hair and makeup artist, versus your sister who watches a lot of Brad Mondo and she's real good at hair. We know And I think it comes to like when you like go get your hair done, right? Like if I'm going to go color my hair, I'm not going to buy box dye and go to my sister who does dye her hair and be like, dye it.
Right.
I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't want my hair to fall off my head. I'm going to go to someone who knows how to do this and knows how to do it properly.
Right. Another big thing is time.
Yep.
If you don't have the hair and makeup done in the morning at the right time, ready for your pictures, it can mess up the whole day and add a lot of stress. So hire somebody that knows what they're doing, has experience in that. Give the compromise to your sister on doing your hair for your rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, or let her do like the flower girls, like something simple, something small. Like we said, it's all about like that compromise of doing bite-sized things, like very manageable things where like if something were to go wrong, it's okay. It's going to buff. It'll figure itself out. But like you don't want your sister to do your hair and then you go to the mirror and be like, I don't have time to fix this.
Right.
And now I have to have it like this.
Exactly. That would be, it adds more stress than what you need.
Oh, yes.
And now we'll go into our last vendor.
The juicy one.
The great one. Yes. Event DJ versus this cool friend from college with an iPhone hookup.
The ox.
Okay. Okay, guys, the biggest reason with hiring an event DJ is they are more than just playing music. Mm-hmm. They are an MC. They lead you through the night. They know the social cues when the toasts are, when the cake cutting, when the dinner. There are so many cues that they give that helps the flow of the night go well.
Yes.
There's no awkward moments with that. They're professionals and they're so worth going with them.
Oh my gosh, yes. And they keep you hyped up. Like they keep your people from falling asleep. And like, just a playlist is okay for the cocktail hour. But like when you are ready to get going, they can feel the energy. Like they put on a song and they're like, ooh, they're not liking that. Time to switch it up. Whereas like your friend is just going to put a playlist on and you're just going to get what you get. Like you're going to hope that there's like some good stuff on there. Like you could go to your DJ and be like, I absolutely want this. And then you know that they're going to play it. Whereas like your friend might have like more leeway and might try to have a bigger opinion and be like, I'll play it later.
Right.
I'll get to it.
And a good compromise is asking that cool friend from college for a playlist that you can submit to the DJ and then they can dance to it on the dance floor.
Or like if you're doing a party bus in between your venues or like your rehearsal dinner, if you go out, like have them set the music up for that and let them play it there and where it's a little more fitting for them to play what they want.
Right. Yeah. So overall, guys, we're obviously on the hire the professional side of things, the professional vendor just with their experience. And there's a reason why they do what they do. But just remember there is a compromise that you can have for each person so they still feel involved and hurt feelings aren't too much in the picture.
Right. And like we said, this is all about like the time and the experience is really what you're paying for, just that knowledge and that comfort and almost the safety that these vendors provide for us. We love our friends. We love our relatives. There's a time and a place for everything. Maybe just start them off a little smaller.
Right. We want them to be guests at the wedding. Yeah.
No stress. No stress.
No stress.
And with that, you guys, that was all the vendors that we had for you today. It's a big day and we just want everyone to be happy, healthy, comfortable, safe by the end of it. And yeah.
Thank you guys for listening in today on this episode and we will chat with you next time.
We'll see you.
Thanks for listening to the Your Party People podcast. If you already love us, make sure to come back to the party every other Wednesday.
If you really love us, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at It's Your Party People Podcast. And make sure to let us know your thoughts on the show and if you have any topics you want us to cover in a future episode. DM us on Instagram or email us at yourpartypeoplepodcast@gmail.com and maybe we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. See you at the next party.
Bye.